Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, December 28th, and it is 8:30 here in the morning. So that means it is our time for us, our gathering time. It's a time just to kind of check in, see how everyone's doing. Um, it's an opportunity to hopefully, ask a few questions of the text. It's an opportunity to interact with each other as we navigate what it means to follow Christ here and in 2023, almost 2024. And so that's going to require us to understand context, ask questions, uh, listen, um, interact. And so feel free. Let me know that you're here. Let me please feel free to ask questions, comments. Um, add to the discussion. And then we always close out with some time of prayer. So if you have any prayer requests, please feel free to add those if you have any. It's always good to specifically pray for certain situations or individuals. So we want to do that. Morning, Maryland. Morning, Melanie. Um, I hope everyone had an amazing holiday. I hope your Christmas went well and went smoothly and was just a great time. And here we are, 1 week later, and we're coming up on the end of the year. So I trust that this has been a good year for you. And if not, just remember, the new year begins. It's a new opportunity, just like every new day, every new minute. It's all an opportunity to start over. So um, uh, let's dive into our discussion this morning. This last week, we were looking in the scriptures at the Magnificat, or Mary's song, or this song that she sings after she has been told of this plan by God, but through this angel by God. And um, it's got to be overwhelming. Can only imagine what what was going through her mind at that time. Here she is, engaged to be married, not yet married, but now pregnant. That would have been a scandal. That would be that's still somewhat a scandal today. But it wouldn't have been, I mean, just 1,000 times worse at that time. So here she is. Her life is now upside down. She has, she felt like everything was going great. Maybe you know what that feels like. It feels like when you're in a moment where everything feels like it's just flowing and effortless, and all the work that you have been doing feels like it's paying off, and you're just thinking, oh, this is a wonderful feeling. And then you hear that sound, right? We all know that sound. There's a pop, there's a bang, there's a flash, there, whatever it is, right? The car starts making a noise. All of a sudden you hear a pop in your back or your knee or or your neck, or whatever it is, right? There's always that noise, that sound, and it wakes us up to, we are not in control, and something difficult happens. And so, you know, we can kind of relate in some sense to what Mary might have been going through in that moment. And yet in all of that, and I can only imagine she had her doubts and wished that God would just choose someone else, why me, all of those things. I can only imagine. The scriptures doesn't show us that. And sometimes by accident, when we don't hear her wrestling, we just naturally assume she was perfect and said yes, didn't think about it, didn't question it, didn't regret. But oh man, she was a human, and that's what we do, right? So you have to assume she was doing that as well. And she goes to visit her cousin Elizabeth, who was or she was older than you would assume to be having a child, and yet she's having a child. And Mary, who is too young, unwed, having a child. And so they connect with each other. Maybe just Mary just needed to feel some love and no judgment. And then she sings this song where she, says, essentially, God, I don't understand it all, but I will follow you. I will say yes. I'm your servant. And then she talks about all the things that God, the good things God does, and who God is, and I just think it's interesting. As we look at this, as we were finishing up, we're now on the other side of Christmas Day, but we all have those presents under the tree, and we think about uh, uh, those presents that Santa delivers to our children, and you know that question that all the kids are should be asking themselves: Have I been good this year? Have I been? Did I make the good list? Santa's good list, and then I as I mentioned on Sunday, I can't help but think, well, let's think about God. You know, the gift of Jesus in our lives, which is salvation, it is forgiveness, it is understanding how to live in connection with God. That is a huge gift. God's forgiveness, God's grace. That is a huge gift in our lives. One that I personally take for granted far more times than I would like to admit. Maybe you can relate to that. Maybe you know what I'm talking about. And yet, what's so amazing is if I go down that line, and it's not about self deprecation, it's not about hatred of self, it's just an honest look. Every now and then we just, hey, I try not to, it's not about body issues, or I try, but, I try not to talk about that, but, sometimes it's good to get on the scale, right? It's not about judgment. It's not about being a certain size or weight, but sometimes we just have to know where we're at. Sometimes we have to take our temperature, right? I feel hot, I may feel like it, but I can't know until I take that temperature. So hopefully you see what I'm saying. Sometimes we have to take an honest look, and it's not about thinking of ourselves less. It's not about self-hatred or loathing or any of that. But sometimes we just need to know who we are, where we're at. Sometimes we need to look in the mirror. And if we're honest, again, this is not about shame. This is about being honest with ourselves. How can we? What is it? The first step in recovery, the first step in getting better is admitting that there is a problem. Right? If we can't even admit, and trust me, I am so good. I am a master at pushing off or justifying myself or not trying to think about it. And sometimes we just need to be honest with ourselves. And if we're honest, we all know that we have not been as good as we could have been. And again, it's not about shame. No one has time for that. God is not about that. But we have to admit that there is a problem in the first place. We have to admit who we are. And what's so beautiful is in our being honest with ourselves, it's a good first step. But also, God comes in and says, that doesn't matter. In fact, you're not good enough. You never will be. But I don't care, God says. You are valued and loved. You have been made perfect. And you are forgiven. Those things that you have done, they are gone. They're forgiven. And that is a gift. That is an amazing gift, isn't it? An absolutely amazing gift. And one that we take for granted, one that I take for granted. And none of us are good enough for it. But that just speaks, that does not speak to how bad I am. That speaks to how good God is. That God would forgive me even though I didn't do everything I was supposed to. I am not worthy of it. God gives it anyway. And that just shows how amazing God is. And, those things they're a good reminder. And I love that we, during this Christian calendar year, the world says Christmas here, it's about setting up a tree. It's about the presents under there. It's about the stuff, the decorations, the music, all of this material stuff, the outward, and all those things are wonderful and nice, and they're awesome. Don't get me wrong, but um, the real reason that we do those things, the real reason that we have this season of Advent is to remind ourselves again. I mean, we need to be reminding ourselves every day, but it's a reminder again that God so loved all of the world that God sent Jesus to come into our human existence, to live amongst us, to put on flesh and bone, right? To know hunger and pain and resentment and jealousy and pain and all of it, the human condition, to know our brokenness, to experience our brokenness, and then offer forgiveness, even though we if we're honest, even though we have at times put the nails in Jesus's hands and feet ourselves. We do that. We go our own way. We do our thing. We feel like we know what is best. And no, regardless of how many times we have rejected Jesus, Jesus never rejects us. God never rejects us. And so this is why we go through this season of Advent, this preparing. It's, Jesus wasn't born on December 25th. But to get so stuck on, it's got to be this way, this time. No, this is all just an opportunity for us to remember again. This is a reminder for us. That's why we do it every year. We do it not because it's a tradition and that we have to do it. No, we do it to remind ourselves because we are fickle. We are easily distracted. We need this reminder that Christ loves us, that God forgives us, even though we don't deserve it. We could never be good enough for it, but that's how good God is. And so we do this to remind ourselves of how good God is. And we need to ask ourselves today, who am I? Where am I at today? Not of thinking of ourselves less, but being open to where we can begin. We are about to begin a new year, and this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to say, this year I will do this when I didn't do it this last year. This is an opportunity. It is we take for granted, we assume that we will live to whatever age, and then I'll wrap things up. But none of us are promised the next moment, the next second, the next sunrise. And so now is an opportunity to do today what I missed yesterday. And again, it's not about regretting, but it's about being present in the moment. It is about living today. And so we need reminders, and Advent and Christmas and this time of year is a beautiful reminder that we can be today who I wasn't yesterday. This today is a new chance, a new opportunity. So seize today. Seize this moment. Be the person you already are, who God says you are. Be that person today, because it's a gift. It truly is a gift. Good morning, Jeannie. Good morning, Bruce and Joyce. Morning, Jane. So I hope that this gives us some thoughts. What would we do? What can we do? Or what is God calling you to do this year? God called Mary to do this thing for God. What is God calling you to do? Who is God calling you to be today, this year? Who does God want you to be? Who are you already? Who did God make you already to be? And we've covered over it with all the other labels and stuff and junk. Who has God called you to be today? Morning, Sandy. So some things to think about for us as we finish out 2023. Please feel free add any prayer requests that you might have. We certainly want to lift up Mary Pinto, Penny Bradford. We certainly want to lift them all up. And if there's any others that we know of, feel free, leave those in the comment section. But at this time, would you join me in some moments of prayer? We thank you, holy and loving God, for the countless ways that you show us love and mercy and grace and understanding and patience every day of our lives. God, there are days where we have done what we have needed to do, that we've shone brightly. And there are days where I have missed the mark. There are days where I have done what I wanted to do, or gone my own way, or felt I knew what was best, or I just didn't care. And God, for all of those times, we thank you for forgiveness. We thank you for your love. God, help us to be the people you've already said we are, right? That we already are underneath. And we have just covered over with so many labels and misconceptions and false identities. God, help us to strip that all away so that we can be your people for today. We're thankful for the gift of this new day. We're thankful for the opportunity to celebrate a new year just in a few days. We thank you, God, for that beautiful blessing. Be with those that we know and love that are going through difficult times, whether emotional, financial, spiritual, with relationships. God, all the ways that we can hurt and go through pain and depression and anxiety, all those moments. God, be with us. Give us strength for today. Help us to see that we, although our lives may not be perfect, we have what we need for today. I have what I need for this moment. Help me to trust in you for the next. And God, we just lift up Penny and in her recovery. God, be with her and give her strength. Be with Miss Pinto as she recovers as well. Be with all of those who are dealing with sicknesses, illnesses, recovering from procedures. God, all of those dealing with COVID, still going around. And so we ask for just mercy. We ask for recovery. We ask for strength, God. Thank you for all those that are connected this morning, whether live or at some point throughout the day or the week. Be with all of us, God, as we try our best to follow you in 2023. Thank you for your ongoing love and support. Be with us as we go from this place, for it's in your name we pray. Amen. Well, blessings to all of you. Thank you for joining with me this morning. I hope that you have a great rest of your day. And I hope that the rest of your new end of the year goes absolutely smoothly. And hopefully I'll see you for worship here on Sunday, 9 and 10:30. And we're always on Facebook and YouTube, and then right back here every Thursday.